What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bay Area Babylon. Today, we find ourselves high up in the Santa Cruz Mountains in the beautiful little town of Felton, California. And we're up here today to check out the Bigfoot Discovery Museum behind me and talk to its owner, Michael Rugg. Now, before we get into the museum, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button because Bay Area Babylon is coming at you with a new video each and every single week. And let me tell you, Rugg, he's unwavering in his belief that Bigfoot roams the Pacific Northwest's vast forests and rugged mountains. In his view, the creature, that's a bipedal primate, survives by hunting deer and masterfully hiding from humanity, a necessary skill to avoid annihilation. And as we'll come to learn, Michael Rugg claims that his first encounter with Bigfoot happened when he was just a boy, around 4 years old, when camping with his family up in Humboldt County, where he says that he saw the creature with his own 2 eyes. His parents dismissed it as childhood imagination, but years later, the memory returned with startling clarity.
I saw one when I was 5 years old. So I had a knowledge of their existence, and people kept telling me they don't exist. And so that formed a bit of a problem in my mind. I was camping up on the Eel River with my parents. So it's just me and my parents, and we were camped on a beach right next to the Eel River. And it was real early in the morning, just after sunrise. My dad got us up. He was going to cook up some breakfast on the camp stove. And I noticed that he had a couple of dead fish in the frying pan. And I didn't relish the idea of eating dead fish for breakfast when I was 5 years old. While my mom and dad were busy cooking up the fish, I boycotted the event. I left. So I went running down the edge of the river, and I ran, I don't know how far I went, a couple of 100 yards probably. I couldn't see my parents any longer. Then I noticed there was a sandbar jutting out into the river. So I went out in the sandbar, and I looked across the river and upstream, and when I looked back towards the forest, there's this big hairy man standing there looking at me. And I looked at him, and we had eye contact for about a count of 3. Then I heard my mother screaming, "Mikey, where are you?" And I thought, oh geez, I better go back. I don't want Mom to be upset, because I wasn't mad at my mom, I was mad at my dad. So I started running back towards camp. I got about 2/3 of the way back, and I bumped into my parents, and I said, "Hey, I'm okay, come and see the big hairy man." Well, before they could even suggest we not do so, I was off running in the direction of my sighting. And so they just came along. And we got there, of course, it wasn't there anymore. It was gone.
That recollection ignited a lifelong fascination and set Rugg on a quest to uncover the truth about Bigfoot.
It became just kind of a major obsession for me because of that. So I was sitting over in a cubicle in downtown San Jose, pushing pixels for big corporations, when the dot-com boom ended the first time around. And so as a result, the branding agency I was working for went from 40 people down to 4. And since I was a new arrival there, I was not one of those to miss the cut. So I was then out of work again. But I decided, I'm going to have to go back to Felton, because I sublet this space out to an artist for a studio. If I'm going to have to go back to Felton and take over that studio, I don't think I'm going to put a sign up that says graphic artist for hire. I think I'm going to make a Bigfoot museum.
What year did the Bigfoot Museum first open?
2004.
And approximately how many people would you say come through?
Well, in a normal time, I get anywhere from 30 to 70. So you can probably average that out at about 50 people a day.
Rugg's passion for Bigfoot is almost contagious. He speaks about the creature in this vivid detail, describing its odor as, quote, like a skunk that rolled around in dead animals and garbage pits. And its noises, its vocalizations, he says, are, quote, distinguished, kind of like going down the Matterhorn at Disneyland. And sure enough, over the years, Rugg has even heard those cries and even smelled the creature's pungent odor. He's captured video footage of what he believes is Bigfoot as well, though he acknowledges it has some limitations.
Some videotape, you can't see any details of. I mean, it wouldn't convince a skeptic. But Had you been there and heard the screams and smelled it, you'd know it was a Bigfoot that you're looking at, because you can't see it, but it's just a dark shape that's walking upright. But we also found a tooth over in Scotts Valley. And the tooth compares with a human tooth, but it's much bigger. So we do believe it is a Sasquatch tooth. And that's probably our most compelling evidence, is that tooth.
So do you think there's more activity here or more up in the Pacific Northwest, would you say?
And they probably would have come here across the land bridge when it was connected through the Bering Straits. So I would suggest that there's probably considerably more up in Alaska and British Columbia. But they are here. And here as well. A lady came in who said she was living up in Boulder Creek, staying at a friend's place. He had a cabin in a little shed, and he had an abandoned school bus on the property. She was sleeping in the bus, and one night she got thirsty. She got up in the middle of the night, and she went into the cabin to get a drink of water. And she's standing at the kitchen sink, drawing the water, and the window is open over the sink. I mean, she can see through it. And she looks out the window and she sees a white hat. Now it stuck out in the dark because it was white. And then she strained her eyes trying to see who was wearing the hat. And she couldn't see anybody, but what she saw looked like somebody covered in dark hair. And then it noticed that she was looking at it, and she said that suddenly it went down into a little ball and then popped out of sight. That's just the way she described it. So I don't know what to make of that. But people claim that the Sasquatch have mind speak and cloaking. Cloaking being the ability to become transparent.
Now, the legend of Bigfoot, it's deeply woven into the fabric of American culture, dividing people into two camps, believers and skeptics. And for those in the former group like Rugg, maintaining a belief often requires standing firm against scientific skepticism. The evidence for Bigfoot primarily consists of anecdotes, blurry photos, some grainy videos, and a lot of plaster casts of footprints, most of which have been dismissed as hoaxes. Now, the story of Bigfoot stretches way back centuries ago, and as historian Brian Regal notes in his book Searching for Sasquatch, reports and legends of this hairy humanoid in North America preceded the arrival of the Europeans. Belief in these wild men and kindred creatures go back millennia with Native American folklore, and in the global context, at least as far back as the Epic of Gilgamesh, and likely to humanity's earliest moments. Now, modern Bigfoot studies began to take shape back in the mid-20th century, with the 1960s marking a turning point. Among the most iconic moments in Bigfoot lore is the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film, a short video that many claim is indisputable proof that the creature does exist. And Rugg, who was a student over at Stanford University at the time, considers the footage genuine.
The skeptics aren't aware how much evidence there actually is and how many other people have seen them. You know, they seem to think there's just a few random sightings by a bunch of nutcases and that's it. And they come in here, they find out that's not the case. That's a jacket worn by the people who worked on the movie Harry and the Hendersons. I have a friend who lives in Glendale, and he went into a thrift store down in Hollywood. He saw that and he got it for me. And then not too long after that, I got a call from the man who wrote the screenplay for Harry and the Hendersons, the actual author of the story. And we talked for 45 minutes on his dime. And he called me about 2 weeks before the movie was released. Yeah, so that was pretty special.
But why are these sightings so rare? Rugg has a straightforward answer for that too. They're good at hiding. These animals realized if they didn't hide from us, we were gonna murder all of them.
My most recent report in here was 10 months ago. And it was right near a report from 1954. So that shows that they've been here hanging out in the woods above Aptos for at least 50 years now. I would tell him to consider the Patterson film. I would tell him to look at some of the films by some other people. There's other people who've gotten little film clips and pictures. And spend a little time with it. If you spend a little time with it, pretty soon you realize there's quite a bit of evidence for it.
Mainstream science's dismissal of Bigfoot frustrates Rugg, who attributes the skepticism to dogma, stating, "They're following a doctrine. They're stuck with the concept that there are no hominoids left, alive except for us Homo sapiens, which obviously isn't true." End quote. The tensions between belief and academia isn't new for Rugg. When he was going to school up at Stanford, he proposed writing a paper on the importance of studying Bigfoot, only to have his professor reject the idea outright and laugh. The term paper earned that guy, Mr. Rugg, an F for all of his troubles. Now, despite such setbacks, Rugg never wavered in his devotion to believing in Bigfoot.
If people would start opening their minds a little bit and not be so skeptical about everything, and realize there's plenty of things to learn here.
Now, the museum has a lot of cool stuff. Sculptures and dioramas and books and tons of plaster casts and more. But Rugg's dream is now at risk. The museum, which operates entirely on donations, faces its financial challenges. And although he raised $12,000 of the $92,000 goal to save the museum, the future remains uncertain. But for now, Michael Rugg continues his work, welcoming visitors Friday through Sunday to share his passion and extensive knowledge. He says, quote, "Studying Bigfoot is just a fun thing to do."
Bigfoot is a hominid like ourselves. It's part of our family tree. They're not wanting to do harm to anyone, and no one should be doing any harm to them.